So we should be live in just about now. We should be live now. So Chantal, goodness, how many years have we actually known each other? First and foremost,
You know, I was thinking about that this morning. Did we meet through Business Fusion or Women in with Sue Rowe? So I was trying because a bit least
Sue Hurt. Sue Hurt.
Was it through Sue Hurt?
Yeah. So I would say it's about 6 or 7 years anyway.
I would have said even a bit longer, something like that.
Maybe.
Yes.
It's been so long. So welcome. And thank you so much for saying yes to coming on here and being interviewed, because I know you're going to have so much value to add to the people on here.
Thank you.
So that's okay. My pleasure to have you here. So tell me first and foremost, before we get into the nitty gritty, if you like, tell us a little bit about you and how you've come to where you are now, because I know you're in business as well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's always an interesting question, because when you've been in business now for quite some time, you sort of think, where should I start? So I'll start from the beginning, in that I fell into running my own business when I was in my 30s, and I wanted to get out of the corporate world. And I met a really interesting gentleman who actually said to me, because I was already doing Reiki at the time and sort of already getting into this interest through my mother, interestingly enough. In those days, Reiki wasn't really known. It only just come to Perth. Anyhow, he turned around and said to me, oh, look, you really are a light worker. I want to support you to get out of the workforce, because something had happened to me. I'd been bullied, and particularly by my boss's boss. And I wanted to get out. And for some reason, he said, I'll support you. And I dropped into doing my clinical aromatherapy diploma. No clue what it meant, no clue what business meant, nothing. And then at the time, I decided I lost a part-time job as well. And I just had bought my unit. So I just moved back from Australia a couple of years beforehand. And it was like, okay, where do I go from here? And all you can do is really go forward, so you don't sink. That's really how I started it all those years ago. And then it's just segued all the way through. And, you just always, but the same message has always been the same. I want to support women to feel beautiful who they are, confident. In those days, it was through massage, aromatherapy, Reiki. Now I do also bring the counseling in as well.
Okay, cool. So obviously you've done lots of trainings, lots of courses, lots of everything. And most important of all, as I think we all do, is lots of friggin' self-development along the way.
Oh, yes. Because I learned something years ago. My business is my growth is my business.
Yes. Fair enough. That's awesome. I love how you put that. And we're both in Perth, so it's awesome that we get to see each other face to face now and again as well, especially in these times. So I know that we were going to talk today specifically about the question that people kept telling you, that you were so lucky. And I know while you're in business and there's a bit of that, but there's a personal side to all of this. And we had a brief conversation about it when we last met, and I went, oh my God, you need to come on. We need to talk about this kind of sensitive stuff that people aren't talking about. So when we say they kept telling me I was so lucky, tell us what you mean by that, because I haven't actually let into anyone what it is that we're talking about.
No, I saw that and I thought, oh, I'll keep it too. Listen, it still makes me feel emotional. So people basically said to me, I was so lucky because I didn't have children. And it is going to bring up, even now at 57, it still brings up emotions for me.
Yeah.
And I used to always stand there stunned, because I always just thought how wonderful it was to have children. And I'll come back to what didn't realize what it was all about. But I just thought it was a privilege. I always just thought it was a privilege to have a child. And everything I did, I just believed I was going to have a child. Didn't mind not marrying. I didn't want to take on a man's name. That I knew from already a young age. That was sort of going against my French tradition, and I suppose my mother's British side as well. So I always knew that. But something I always knew was I wanted children. Yeah. And that is what drove me in many ways, and at the same time held me back from really truly doing and being who I was and wanted to be, even when I realized I couldn't have children. And then again, kept coming, you're lucky you've got this freedom. But I didn't feel, Carmel, I didn't feel free. I didn't feel I had this freedom because I wasn't fulfilling something. And it's also a biological fulfilling, not just an emotional, mental one. It's a biological one. Because let's face it, no matter what equality in this world's happening, this is from my point of view, my body here is, for me, was to literally procreate, is to have a child, apart from all the rest.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that I felt free, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And when, and I'm so sorry that you had that journey, but I love that you're speaking out, because I think it's something that happens a lot. So like, tell us a little bit about your journey of, like, obviously, you know, you wanted to have kids. What age were you, for example, when you discovered you couldn't have kids?
Well, ironically, not until my early 40s.
Right.
And because I kept believing I'd have them. I had a beautiful partner in Europe when I was living back in Europe, and he was old, and I made the decision at the age of 30 to leave him and leave the life that I had. That's just how much, when I look back now, that is how much I wanted a child. And because he couldn't have children anymore, and so we couldn't really go down that path, and didn't want to, which is fair enough. So I made the decision to come back to Australia. That was 30, thinking, you know, I want to come back to my beautiful family, which ended up, that's a whole nother story, but thinking, oh, I'll come back, I'll meet a lovely man, have a child. This is the thing we have in our heads.
Yeah.
Well,
it's what we're taught. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So here's me, Miss Freedom, because I was doing what I wanted. I was traveling the world, and I was going back to where I was brought up and all those things, but there was still this thing going on in the back of my mind. So on the one hand, I was a renegade, but on the other hand, I wasn't. I was still traditional. So there's that gap that happens.
Yeah.
And needless to say, it didn't happen. And then various other emotional things come in between that take your time, like of starting a business. Then my father died unexpectedly when I was 36. That caused a lot of stress. We now realize PTSD, but we didn't know that until later. And then when I hit 41, I finally made the decision I'd have a sperm donor child. And this is the first time I've ever said it publicly. And my mother, who was absolutely behind me. Now, my mother at the time, how would I know, 18 years ago, she was in her 70s, late 70s, was fully behind it. She wanted to be a grandma, and she would support me in every which way. So I made my appointment to see a sperm donor. 10 days beforehand, I ended up in hospital with a complete and utter nervous breakdown. I couldn't speak. I didn't know who I was, nothing. So then I had the recovery from that. By the time I hit 43 and met my beautiful partner now, I went back to have all my hormones checked. So 43, I was still wanting a child. I still hadn't let go of hope. I still hadn't come to a place of acceptance until he did special hormone tests, and it came back, my hormones were from stress, the death of my father, PTSD, my childhood. I couldn't actually have children. He said to me, if I'd gone through with the sperm donor, he said, you most probably could have fallen pregnant, but you would not have held the pregnancy. So 2 things there. When I could go into logic, it was like, thank you, universe, for supporting me with all the emotion and finances and everything that would have been involved with that. Yet here was my hopes dashed, acceptance dashed. Yeah. That was it. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, because at 43, finally, that was it. No more.
Yeah, and there was it was like a grief.
Yep, huge grief.
An absolute grief.
Absolutely, Carmen. And what comes up? It comes up in waves. It comes because now, even though I know obviously logically, but now my friends are starting to have grandchildren. Yeah. So you don't think of that. Suddenly, yes. You know, you so for everyone's saying you are lucky, you know, or like you could do all that, but now I'm watching them having such joy having grandchildren. You know, and having well, in the old days, it was Granny Bragg books, you know, and all these beautiful images coming up on Facebook. And even though I rejoice for them, of course I do, there's always a little pang, little in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you said, like, no matter equality, everything like that, if we actually peel it right back, purpose to be on earth is to actually procreate. And we talk about women a lot, talk about, I just want to do my purpose. Blah. The peel back purpose is to be a mother, and then after that to be a grandmother. And to not have that, and much as I respect people that have chosen not to, I don't mean that, but to not have that, you feel like something's missing. You must feel at times like, I'm chasing my purpose all the time, but I can't achieve it.
Exactly right. And that's really beautifully put, because I often thought about it. Yes, how to explain it, and you've just explained it beautifully. And obviously there are women who choose not to, and
Yes.
that's different. But when I was interviewing some women for market research, what we found that we had in common was the people not understanding the judgment, the commentary. Oh, you're lucky, you must have so much time. So all that comes into it. So even though it came from different angles and for different reasons, there was still that commonality of how we are placed or displaced in society,
Yeah. And it's a thing, and that's why I was so excited to have you on, because it's the thing I believe that people are not talking about.
No.
They're just not. And it is a perception of, because of course, if you're a mom and you have small kids, whatever, you're going, oh my God, you're so lucky you have this, that, and the other. I was a very young mother, wasn't planned, if I'm honest. But like you, realized then quickly that it was a privilege to have children. And my job was always to educate and help develop independent adults. Yeah. And people talk about, trying to keep their kids at home, trying to that. But I have some friends that have never had kids and I used to laughingly, when I didn't know any better, I used to say, you can bloody hire mine for a day.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly right.
They'll put you off having kids. But that, when I think about it now, it was so disrespectful of me to say that. I didn't realize that. And I think that that's the thing. We don't have empathy for somebody else because we haven't walked in their shoes. So we don't know. To me, I used to laugh and say, I just have to walk past my ex-husband on the stairs and I'm pregnant, for God's sake. But not realizing that was such a joy and a brilliant thing to be able to do.
That's right.
For somebody that wasn't.
Yeah. Thank you. And that is exactly right. What we don't realize is because we all do it to different people. So, but it is a judgment. As you said, it is not thought out. It's actually a put down and taking away your reality. Because when we are uncomfortable with something, we often do something like that. We deflect. So we put ourselves out there to deflect and therefore minimize the other person's experience. And I mean, we've all got to sit here and think at some point we've done that somewhere along the line.
Yes, of course.
And
I think that's just, the human condition, that's what we're taught. And it's the same as this story of, grow up, get married, have kids, blah, 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 blah. We're also taught that that's a thing. And there must be something wrong with us if we don't.
Exactly right. And even worse, if you actually don't want children, there's that, or how could you possibly not? Because again, when you look at number one, I've never spoken about it because it never came up. Yes, I could talk about my childhood, the violence with my father. I could talk about PTSD, but this is really new. When I looked at it, no one asked me. I didn't know how to put it out there. There's no conversation. What words do you put there? So like you said, there's no conversation.
No.
Plus, everywhere you go is all about being a mother. So there's maternity leave and there's Mother's Day, and everywhere in the shops, it's all about the children, the schooling, conversations are like that, and when mothers go out to have a drink, they want to go and have a drink and enjoy themselves. You're sitting there going, okay, it's a different conversation is held.
It is. And it's interesting as you say all those things, because my mind goes straight to, and I wonder if this is your experience, because you're so focused on that or lack of that you see those things more. It's like buying a new car. Suddenly every man and his bloody dog has the same kind of car.
Yes.
Because like you said to me about, Mother's Day and school kids, I don't even think about them. But it's because I've never been thinking about the lack of them either. I don't even see school kids or whatever. I actually don't see them anymore. It's just because I'm in a different space. So I'm curious as to, and it's not good, bad, right or wrong, but when you're in that space that you can't bring up the conversation, that you start seeing more things. It's like getting that evidence from our reticular activation system. More and more evidence, that's true, because of our own beliefs about it.
Yep, that's absolutely, and I totally agree with you there, because somewhere along the line, the word obsessive comes up, but it's actually not the right word, but it's because it's such a passion, as you said, such a focus. that is exactly right. What you see, you feel consumed by it, you know, and because obviously you are consumed by being a mother. How can you not be, you know, because there's so much responsibility there. But something a couple of my girls said to me when we were doing a meditation circle a few years ago, when I was sharing a little bit in their group with them, and they turned around and both said to me, meaning well, but again, it was that putting me, I felt not heard. Oh, Chantal, you know, when we had children, we didn't expect to be bringing them up on our own. We didn't expect to be divorced. We see, in a way, it was a good reminder, because I'd only thought of the beautiful birth, holding the baby, doing the breastfeeding, and I didn't get any beyond that, Carmel. So it was a real wake-up call. So even on the one hand, it was like, hang on, just give me this space to be able to share this. Yet, on the other hand, it was like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yes. Yeah. And look, having been a single mother of 3 children for quite a number of years, I get that. You don't see that. But then none of us plan for that, because it's the unknown as well. But if we actually looked at the statistics of divorce and everything else, we would. So what is the answer in terms of what is, you know, if some people that are listening to this and they have got a friend that hasn't had kids, what is the best way to have a conversation, to start a conversation with that person that is respectful?
Now, that is a really good point, a really interesting point. Let me just sit for a moment with that, because I think it's just like with anything, asking. Simply ask. And then when you ask, allow yourself to be open. So open your heart, allows you to be open without judgment. Without going, I understand, I don't, whatever. It's just allowing the person to talk and just share what it's like, because there might be things that you might react to, you know, that, well, she says this and that might be that. And it goes both ways. So it's how can you be with someone and just be there with acceptance? Because ultimately, we all want to be accepted for who we are. We all want to be able to have our own views, points. And we also want to be able to sit there, because I'm being mindful, even as we're talking now, am I coming across as being a bit whingy or a bit, you know, woe is me type thing, you know? So it's how can we create these conversations where it's just a statement of fact, some emotion might come in, and allow it to evolve.
Because to me, I'm quite direct, you know, but I like to think it's in a respectful way, because for me, a question that I could see me now asking, if I said, hey, how you going? Have you got kids? And they say no, would be something like that. Was that by choice? Or was that because you didn't have a choice?
Yeah, that's right. Because exactly what you just said, do you have children? It is so automatic that there's no room for actually a no to come in.
Yeah.
Because then someone says no, and it's like, right, okay, what do I do now? You know, do I ask, have you had, because someone might say no because a child has died. You know, they've had a child. So I've had some conversations with women who've had few children once died. You say you've had 4 children, now only have 3. You know, is it because you had so many miscarriages? I know a girl shared with me, by the 5th miscarriage, she decided to share it with a group of girls, and a woman literally turned her back on her, literally did that. She didn't know how to handle it.
And I think that's the key to understand, is that, and I know it's not the exact same, but there's a parallel with grief. It's almost like a taboo subject. It's so people don't know how to handle it. So, you know, when my sister passed away, when my dad, people were like, and they don't know, they actually almost avoid you and don't speak to you because they don't know what to say. And I have found that very healing for me to experience that, so that when it does happen to other people, I can go and say, look, I'm so sorry that that's happened. Because sometimes they just need you to be there, or allow them to speak, and as you say, look, we all judge. There is no 2 ways about it. We have to, it's inbred into us. We had to judge if something was dangerous, if we should mate with it or run away from it or whatever. So we all judge. But to actually suspend your judgment for a moment, you hear what that person's experience is. And I think you're right. People want to be accepted for who they are, but I think it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper into one of the core needs, which is about significance.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
we need to know
exactly.
we're important and we're okay exactly the way we are.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or how we're not.
Yeah. And significance is a really beautiful word, because we all want to have that sense of feeling important, be of value.
Yes.
And that comes back to when I first started, or not first started, when I started segueing into working with women through counseling and being a confidence mentor and intuitive guide, was I really then struggled with, would I be able to work with mothers? So you see, I'd already put my own barrier up, my own judgment up. Could I work with mothers? Because, you know, there's mumpreneurs and there's all this and there's all that. And even though a few people said, well, why not? I didn't get it until I listened to Brené Brown being interviewed by Marie Forleo when she first brought out, was it the Dare to Lead book? And for some reason, I wasn't sleeping at night. I don't normally listen to podcasts because I'm not auditory and not at midnight. But this one I decided to. And the word she said that was unbelievable. She said, you might not have the same experience as that person, but what you do have is emotion.
Yes.
The emotion. So you would have experienced anger, loss, sadness, joy, whatever. And that went, oh my God. So even though I might not understand what it's like to have a child, but I still have emotions, I can still work with you in that context. And that was so freeing. So anyone who is listening, who hasn't been a mother or is unsure that whether you can or not, yes, you can, because it comes back to I'm significant. It comes back to I am who I am. And I just bring in a different, it doesn't mean we're not natural nurturers. Okay. Yeah. So I can still bring in that mothering, because that is still part of being a woman.
Yeah, beautifully said. I love it. So with all of this going on, and what has kept you going in business and obviously in this direction to work with women, what has kept you going amongst that sadness, I guess?
Oh, that's another good question. I hadn't thought of that. Determination. Again, like we said earlier, my business is my growth is my business. Something that really kept me going, and it's taken me a while to really be able to acknowledge it, is just being a shining light. We are all shining lights. We all have a story to tell. And I just believe that each one of us has a voice. And each time we put our voice out there, it has that beautiful, as they say, that beautiful rippling effect. I call it, we create beautiful threads, and we're now weaving this most beautiful tapestry full of color all around the world. And we're just tapping into people. So even though people might not relate to not being a mother in this case, they can still relate to perhaps something else in that. They will take something away, and then that or gives them the courage to say, oh, I'd like to share my story, whatever it might be. You know, like what you're doing here, you're giving us the platform to do that. Then I can give someone else the platform. And then, you know, that's that beautiful weaving the thread. Absolutely. Just, you know, there's gold in there, pink, purple, green, black, whatever colors, you know.
And whatever issue we've had or problem we've had or challenge we've had, people can relate to it. Like I've often heard people's story. While it wasn't my story, there was elements in it that like I really went, and it also, I believe, opens it up to, well, if she can do it or if he can do it, then so can I.
Yes.
It gives people permission to step into that when they see other people of perceived strength or famous or whatever being actually vulnerable. I think it's a really awesome. So tell me now, with all of this and all your wisdom now, what is success to you?
You know what I've realized, and that's still something I'm working through. Initially, success was, you know, when you start out in business, you have this very naive thought. You know, I don't know if you remember, or you might not have been with Anthony Moff, you know, everyone's about, we want to make 1 million or 5 million, you know, and you don't realize actually that's a lot harder than you think. So of course, for me, for a long time, success meant finance, because we are so, again, on that other side is the masculine side. To be successful, you have to have money, or you have to have made money. So I struggled a lot with that, because one of my businesses I just closed fully this year, and I really had to work through a sense of failure, not going where I wanted to, even though I know all the logic behind it and why I've let it go. So to me, success now is just becoming who I am. It's actually that simple and that hard. It's just now having a really joyful life. I love who I am. I love the life I have. I have a beautiful, simple life with my partner in the hills of Perth. We've got a beautiful home. You know, I'm reconnecting with family, and just there's this, that is success, and it's opening. Now, of course, I want financial success. We all do. Well, finances we just need for our basic needs.
Yes, of course.
But I'm no longer as much, still a little bit there, tuning into that. Because again, the bigger car, the bigger house, the bigger boat, the bigger whatever. But this year, because of where we've gone, it's really made me just go, right, what is important here for me?
Yeah, awesome. So tell me, what is one of the hardest decisions you've ever had to make in business?
The hardest one was for me, which I mentioned just before, was letting go of my natural skincare range. That was really, really hard because I'd started it years ago and I had this whole concept of where I wanted it to go. And as I said to you, the essence is still there. I've just moved the essence from that to this.
Yeah.
And took me about 3 or 4 years to actually finally let it go, to make it public. I was letting it go because I had to work through all the sense of failure, the finances I'd put into it. Logic was that had a car accident and I was severely traumatized by it for a long time. So when I look at the logic of it, I'm amazed I even kept it going.
Yes.
Yet I kept it going, but I didn't, because I was making unwise mistakes.
Yes.
And to actually admit that is one of the hardest things to do, and particularly to do it public. So when I finally let it go, fully let it go and put it out publicly, the relief was huge, because it gave me space to grieve properly, to step into the space, to be able to turn around, look back over the years and look at what I had gained rather than what I hadn't gained.
Of course.
Now I'm open, and then amazing things have started to happen since then with where I'm going now with my business.
Yeah, what do I used a quote just recently: even a dog knows he has to let go of the bone in order to pick up the other one. And you know, logic tells us, but hindsight, of course, is 20/20 vision. It's quite easy to say. So what are some of your success habits now? Because I know you meditate a lot and things like that. So
Well, my major success one is, I've been doing it for many, many years before I even went into any of this. I was still in the corporate world. Every morning, just about, is I get up early and I have my warm lemon drink and I meditate. I just reflect. I have my journal. I have all my colors, colorful pens. And it helped me through a very traumatic time. It helped me to anchor, to be present. And now I'm opening into, how do I want to be? How do I want today to be? So I've changed it all around. So that's pretty much non-negotiable. If I'm on the plane, even when I'm in hospital, no matter where I am, that is something I always do, because it changes my mindset. And then I always have a little bit, I read something and pull out oracle cards. I don't happen to have any handy. I pull out a card. That is, for me, that's what is success.
Sets your day up.
Sets my day. Yeah. Awesome. And then with gratitudes at night. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So how, to get to the place you are now, and like, how does it feel within business specifically to be at the point that you're at right now?
For the first time, I can say to you, really from my heart, exciting.
Yes.
Because with this year, I dropped finally into faith. I had no clue where I was going this year. I had no clue this is where I was going to end up. And I've got a sense of excitement. I'm a lot more comfortable with the unknown. I'm a lot more comfortable with just being with what is. Yeah, so really it's excitement and fun. I'm finally, because I've just started some artwork, doing art, which I've been wanting to do. So I'm bringing in that fun, joy, combining the masculine and the feminine in a whole different way to create that sense of completeness. And it's a really beautiful space to be in.
Beautiful. And if you could start all over again with 20/20 vision being fantastic, what would you do differently?
I would definitely work with someone with finances.
Okay.
Not even a negotiation, to understand cash flow versus, I've gone blank now, of course, because we're talking about money, but to understand what it means to have cash flow, what does it mean to have profit, what does it mean to have outgoings, all that sort of stuff. So that's number one. And not to be scared to spend money on getting advice. Yes,
that's it. Quite often we have a lack mentality, which obviously reflects straight back to us. So I love that. That's so what is one of the most powerful questions that somebody has ever asked you?
That is a really interesting question. Again, God, this is the third one I'm saying that. I think one, I don't know if it was as direct as this, but really it was, who are you?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question, isn't it? Because how do you answer a question like that?
That is the mystery. And also it changes. So this was a big one for me this year as I was letting go of my skincare range, stepping into this, starting off something new. Who am I now?
Yeah.
Also, I'm now post-menopause. I'm now coming to my 60s, you know, so who am I now? I don't want to be invisible. So that constantly ask yourself. So I think that's a powerful question. Who are you at each stage of your life?
Yeah, I've often asked some of my clients, who are you if you're not a mother? Who are
Yes.
you if you haven't got the business?
Exactly.
Who are you if you haven't got? So if you actually ask yourselves, who am I without X, Y, Z?
Exactly.
It's a really powerful question, because what do we do, especially in business and in networking and whatever? It's like, oh, what do you do? It's always, what do you do? And
Yes.
there's this press button, play, and you have this automatic elevator pitch.
Yes.
And I used to giggle at some of the networking meetings, go, nobody's listening to you, because they're sitting there going, shit, it's my turn soon.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And I think when it really became powerful was a couple of months ago. I was having a beautiful kinesiology session. And I was bringing up some of this stuff. We're talking about not having children. And something she actually said to me that filtered through her was being yourself. Now, in my case, without children, being yourself. So again, who are you? Being yourself without children, without being a mother. And it was so, I just went, oh, goosebumps. That was it. That was it. Being yourself.
It is. And I even find now that when I'm in certain areas that I'm totally present and, you know, try and suspend judgment or whatever. And it happened to me last week. I was at an event, totally present. And people were coming up to me. There was a lady talking to me. She was in tears in 2 seconds. Now, it wasn't because I was making her cry. It was because I was genuinely interested. Yeah. I had a conversation and I was totally present in that moment. I wasn't going, oh, scope out. Who else do I need to talk to? Or I need to get away from this person. Because you said it earlier, everybody has a story. And we all have the opportunity to be the hero of our own story. If you look at the hero's journey, which I'm sure you have, Chantal.
Yes.
It's the steps of the hero's journey. It's in every movie. It's in every religion. It's everywhere. And it's the ability to see and know those steps without getting stuck at one stage of it is so powerful.
Yeah. It is. And I think you said it's about suspending yourself and your values and just being able to stand there. And that's what I realized. That's the gift that I can give women I work with, is suspending myself and any judgment and just being able to be there and hold the woman in that space as you said, and just giving them the space to be able to be whoever they are. And if tears need to come or anger, they know they're going to be held in that space. There's such power in that.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And it is, and whether it be business or it's their personal side, I do one thing, which is show me your face and I'll show you what's going on in your business. It's a face read. Yeah. Because how we play the game of life is how we play the game of business. This is the thing.
Exactly.
And it's very visual because it's, you know, that feminine and masculine. You can see what's out of whack. I can tell you what to change and put back into whack so that your business can be sustainable as well.
Yep.
Because it's literally written all over your face.
Yes.
But that ability to hold it and allow that person, as you say, with suspended judgment and just be whoever they are, because you know what? It's actually perfect. Whoever they are.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is you're allowing them to be whoever they are because you are allowing yourself to be whoever you are.
Full acceptance. 100%.
Full acceptance. And that's a beautiful place to come to. Now, you know, it's always going to be, I mean, I'm way there than where I was. And there's always going to be more to learn, but being full acceptance.
The big onion.
That's exactly, a very big onion sometimes. That's right. Numerous ones. Thank you.
Chantal, it's been so awesome to chat to you today. I can't believe we've been chatting for 35 minutes already. But if somebody that is watching this would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Go through my Facebook page, Unfold Your Freedom. You might like to follow me or DM me, or, you know, because I do other work other than just women without children, and just connect. Any questions you'd like to ask. You know, it's just, that's the power of being as women, that we can talk to each other without feeling we need to be sold to. And if something gels, we can then share that.
Yeah, and it's, look, I'm all about collaboration, working together. It's not about, hey, you work with me, you can't work with them,
Yes.
all of this sort of thing in my business, even down to like our membership program that we have for marketing and things like that. It's a come in for a month, you don't like it, cancel. I won't lock you in for 12 months, because it's like, let's all work at this together. There should be no competition.
Exactly right.
If you resonate with me, you work with me. If you resonate with Chantal, you work with her. You resonate with someone. Why are we not all building each other up?
That's right. And that comes back to when you come to an acceptance of yourself.
Yes.
It all comes back to that self-confidence.
Yeah.
The
best way to get significance in a resourceful way is to come from within.
That's it. To
be significant here and to give it away. It's one of the things that when given away comes back to you tenfold.
That's exactly right. And that's when you build trust and faith.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Thank you.
Chantal, thank you so much. This is recorded, and we will send you a recording of it as well.
Lovely. Then I can share it with my people as well, what you're doing. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's okay. So it's bye for me.
Bye.